Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second segment of the virtual roundtable panel on Tech to Sustain Conversion for a Greener Tomorrow. The first session, you saw how a retail uh, store kind of gets influenced with its consumer. And we also talked about how the whole millennial consumer is kind of driving some of these changes around sustainability, and how data analytics plays a critical role in the whole of tech enablement towards sustainability. This particular session, what we are going to talk about is very specific to one particular consumer sector, which is around wines and spirits. So I have with me Funny, and Funny Gadiraju. He is from Southern Glazers Wines and Spirits, and we will be talking to him about how that industry looks into tech enablement around sustainability. The moment I saw your name and where you are from in terms of Southern Glazers Wine and Spirit, I suddenly remembered that I have traveled quite a bit in the wine country in South Africa, covering Paarl, Stellenbosch, and conducting sustainability assessments around the wine production. And it was really a unique experience. And on that note, maybe I should start by asking, like, you know, energy, like, climate change, these are things which stand out in the sustainability discussions. And business is in more pressure than ever to move into energy efficiency, renewable sources of energy. So what are some of those areas in your line of business, especially bottling, production, distribution, supply chain, where the technology interventions can positively impact the energy consumption and also ensuring that the source of energy is green?
Sure, Santosh. So, energy consumption is definitely an important point of discussion, right, for leaders right now, and not just considering the production facilities and supply chains alone. So, it is worth noting that some segments have their own special requirements, like when it comes to, especially in the wine and spirits industry, right? You have to think about aging, storage, and transit to the final products. While beverages like wine and beer impose temperature-related constraints, others are sensitive to light, and
Yeah.
failure to meet these conditions can result in delivery of unsafe products, right, to the consumers. So, in other words, energy is needed when it comes to refrigeration or temperature control of the transit. So, industry itself, like from when you talk about the warehouses and production facilities, are deploying environmental monitoring systems and patching them up with their building management platforms to create a more holistic picture. And we have seen many facilities switch to solar power, or at the least, meet part of their energy needs with renewable sources, and others are partnering with energy companies to commit and maintain a level of demand. So, moreover, optimization is also a key aspect of reducing the footprint that energy consumption accounts for. And here, some technologies have proved quite effective, right? Like automated light switching, and you have temperature control, more granular control over temperature in storage and distribution facilities also. So, however, some technologies are still being researched and tested in the industry, like increasing boiler efficiency in the distillation process, for example. But on the other hand, as you know, Internet of Things is proving quite useful. This is one of the three most impactful technological advancements. It is all about connecting and remotely controlling previously unconnected things. This
Yeah.
makes sustainability applications virtually endless, like from trackable devices that allow us to service equipment remotely to intelligent buildings that allow us to optimize energy consumption in real time. Interconnected devices give us a visibility like never before, right? Giving us a chance to correct any problems almost instantaneously and remotely. In addition, organizations are looking to use electric vehicles in their fleet fusion and last mile deliveries to further reduce their carbon footprint. There are also other emerging technologies like virtual reality that are used in the planning process to improve efficiency and drive sustainability efforts in waste and recycling functions. So, while the more substantial moves to renewable energy will happen as the energy industry itself undergoes a shift, beverage industry is currently trying to contribute its share in helping affect that shift and slowly
Mhm.
moving parts of the energy requirements to renewable energy supply. And alcoholic beverage industry is reducing its carbon footprint by investing in sustainable and green technologies that not only help the planet but also deliver high return on investment.
Right. No, impressive in the sense that when we talk about the so-called carbon emissions, and people think that it is an environmental issue. But if you really look at the carbon emission, it's one of the best measures of efficiency, right? You improve your fleet efficiency, or you improve your the energy optimization when you do, or you optimize your logistics. All these things lead into carbon emission reduction. So holistically, if you really look at it, it is a wholesome metric to measure efficiency in a system. So carbon is a measure of efficiency. I always tell this to the people. And maybe in your field of things, funny, in that particular context, you might have come across some real life examples where all these things have kind of literally helped. This interconnectivity of these issues would have really helped to kind of reduce the so-called carbon emissions and good for environment kind of things. Can you share a real practical example? You talked about the the energy management system, automations, trackable devices, IoTs. Maybe for the benefit, if you can come out with a real example, that would be of help.
Yeah, sure, Santosh. I mean, and it's a very good point, right? Like as Chevy also pointed out, right? He said that the global consumer sentiment is pointing towards moving beyond the brand and looking at what is behind the brand, right? So, as this consumer awareness of environmental issues grows, so do the number of initiatives from drink producers to meet the demand to more sustainable practices. So, sustainability is having an impact on everything from packaging to production methods and ingredient sourcing. With drink producers looking at activities such as waste reduction, eco-friendly packaging programs, and carbon footprint levels. As a result, there are many benchmarks to measure sustainability, right? But as you said, carbon levels are the one of the more established and arguably the most recognized by consumers as well. So, while a handful of pioneering drink producers already became carbon neutral a few years ago, a growing number of distillers, breweries, and wineries are taking a closer look at their carbon emissions. And for a good reason, because the drinks industry is a significant contributor to the carbon emissions. This large carbon footprint is a result of various stages of the production in the production process. As you know, I mean, the whole process. So from farming of raw materials, which includes use of fertilizers and processing, through the energy and resources, all the way through to the packaging, transportation, and refrigeration of the finished product. So according to research by a beverage industry environmental roundtable on the carbon footprint of spirits, actual distillation accounts for between 36 and 40% of these emissions, while a spirit's glass bottle contributes to about 20%. So the remainder is accounted for by warehousing, base materials, transport, and more, right? So this suggests that there are multiple ways for producers to either reduce their carbon footprint or potentially even have a positive benefit. For some, this involves changes to production processes, while others rely in carbon offsetting, usually by planting trees. So methods of carbon reduction vary greatly, right, between producers. Some breweries, wineries, and distilleries achieve carbon neutrality by increasing their use of renewable energy, such as wind power or solar power, or through other technology advances. But other drink producers focus their carbon related efforts and intent to be carbon positive through planting of trees. In some cases, as many as one tree per bottle. By using locally grown timber for distillation and replanting those trees afterwards, distillers are effectively reducing their carbon footprints, if not canceling them entirely. Another innovative approach I've seen is to reduce carbon emissions within spirits, looks at the ingredients themselves uh, rather than production methods. Like you've seen how there are meat alternatives. So instead of
Correct.
grains, some distillers are experimenting with peas as a base, which helps in reducing the carbon emissions from the distillation process. And breweries too are turning their attention to the environmental impact by experimenting with high yielding barley to reduce emissions from transportation and reduce pesticide use. So, in terms of packaging and considering the high percentage of carbon emissions contributed by glass bottles, there are ongoing initiatives from the drink producers to adapt their packaging to have a significant beneficial impact on carbon emissions. For example, some producers started using eco-friendly packaging. And, and as you know, with restrictions on single-use plastics now being passed into law in many markets across the world, and consumer awareness at an all-time high, drink producers would do well to be ahead of the curve when it comes to reducing the environmental impact of their packaging, right? But sustainability doesn't necessarily have to be about doing away with glass bottles entirely. as one distiller's redesign proved. There was a leading distributor brand. They created a striking new bottle, and it is made from sustainable, recyclable, and plastic-free materials. But has also been designed so that it can be repurposed. In addition, the
Okay.
distillery has set a refill scheme aimed at local audience who will have not only the environment but cost as an incentive. So, as the new technologies begin to emerge that help drink producers reduce their carbon emissions or even to become fully carbon neutral, consumer demand for carbon neutral drinks can only be expected to rise.
So the next time I go for a drink, I can go a little lighthearted.
For sure.
Thank you very much for sharing this. And I kind of asked you the kind of practical examples because this is an industry where you do not see many things as part of the labeling schemes. I don't think many people put it out as part of their labels, but in many other retail industry, there are those labels which are coming out, and this is an industry where we don't get to see what is behind many a times, and it was very necessary for us to get that. Thank you for sharing those wonderful insights from the industry side. Thank you.